Hey guys, Eternize here. Let's talk about unmasking. Well, maybe first let's talk about what masking is. So masking is the concept of two sounds or two instruments existing at the same time and occupying the same space frequency-wise. And because the two sounds both use the same frequency space, one or both of the sounds can become unclear or hard to distinguish. And what you then say is that one sound is masking the other. So what unmasking is the process of taking these two sounds and separating them by frequency to such a degree that they can exist at the same time without clashing. And I really can't stress enough how important this skill is when making hardstyle. Because when you think about it, what's unique about hardstyle is the fact that many of the sounds that we use occupy the entire frequency spectrum, right? Think of the lead and think of the hardstyle kick drum. They fill out the entire frequency range and they exist at the same time. You really don't find this in any other genre, and that's also the reason why hardstyle is such a difficult genre to produce. So in this video I want to take you through some examples where masking typically occur and show you how I would typically deal with this issue. One of the places I often find masking is in my lead. With my leads, I like to have a low end that contain a lot of high frequencies. And that, of course, is clashing with the high frequencies in the actual lead. So this would be the sound of the lead and the low end without any unmasking applied. So when played together, it might not strike as a problem, but really it is, because both sounds are really present in the high frequencies. So for unmasking, we have a couple of options. We can deal with it in a static way, or we can deal with it in a dynamic way. The static way would mean that we take an EQ and then remove the frequencies that are clashing, and then it would stay like that statically. The dynamic way would mean that we have the clashing frequencies dynamically adjusting according to the lead. Let's take a look at the static way first. So let's open up an EQ, and while the bit is playing, we can adjust the EQ so that we no longer feel like the two sounds are clashing. We could also do a more aggressive unmasking to really make sure that we have no higher frequencies clashing between the low end and the lead. So that could be done with a high cut all the way down to the lower frequencies, so that we're left only with the very lows. So let's take a look at what we can do with dynamic unmasking. Doing this dynamically means that we would have the low end react to the sounds of the lead through sidechaining. So what we could do is that we could take a multiband compressor, then we could make a band in the high frequencies where we want the sounds to be suppressed, and then set this band to react to the sounds of the lead. So now whenever the lead is playing, the higher frequencies are ducking out of the way, and then in the space in between the lead sounds, the higher frequencies can rise up again to the normal level and fill in that gap in between the lead. This gives a different effect and will sometimes sound better than the static option. Another situation where you could consider unmasking is during the climax. I've done this in maybe half of my released tracks, and I hear this increasingly happen in the tracks from the pros as well. The thing is, it's very situational. It's not every time that you need to do this, and it very much depends on your lead. So effectively what it is low cutting your lead during the climax while your kick is playing. And you would do this to really make sure that there are no lower frequencies in your lead that are clashing with the lower frequencies of the kick drum. So you really try to separate the two and really maximize the potential loudness. Let's listen to an example with and without the low cut. The last example we're going to take a look at is, again, the relation between the kick and the lead. So I mentioned this in one of my recent videos that not every kick needs a lot of high frequencies or a very pronounced crunch in the tail. And of course what it depends on is what other sounds are coexisting. And usually the example would be during the climax where you would have your lead and kick playing at the same time. With everything, this is situational, and if your lead and potentially other sounds have enough high frequencies during the climax, you could consider cutting high frequencies from the tail of your kick drum. Again, this is what I've done in maybe half of the tracks I've released, and I clearly hear this in tracks coming from the pros as well. In the end, it's really a matter of personal preference, both in style and in mixing decisions. Let's listen to an example with and without high cutting the tail of the kick. As shown throughout the video, there are many ways to use unmasking, but these are only a few examples of when unmasking can be used, and really it should be used as often as possible because, especially for hardstyle, it's really necessary to retain clarity between instruments and to maximize loudness. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.